Hello, everybody. I hope that this is actually looking all right. Okay. Hi. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Kath Armstrong, creator of the Cheapskates Club, where our goal is to live life debt-free, cashed up and laughing. If this is your first time visiting us, welcome. And if it's not, welcome back. I'm in front of our Christmas tree and I'm hoping the lights are, I'm sorry, I'm on a really rickety sort of table, so I'm a bit nervous about touching anything in case it all falls apart on me. So lots of talking and chatting going on here, I can see. Hello, Barb. Hannah's just gone home. She left about an hour ago to go home. She's been here since Thursday, and she was going to go last night. She was going to go last night. Lost track of the days, guys. Going to go last night, but it was so stormy and windy and rainy, and she has one particular strip that she has to drive down that's just through trees that just go all over the place, and she doesn't like driving through there in the wind. So she stayed another day and worked from here today. So she left about an hour ago to go home. Okay. But I will let her know you said hi. Great place to be, Mary, in bed, cozy and warm. Good night for it. It is cold here. Hello, Delaney. I'd be lost without my glasses too. Hi, Michelle. Greg, Mrs. Dilligav, Sylvia, Jules, Wild Woman, Evelyn. Okay. How are you all going? You all nearly ready for Christmas? So it's like, not that far away. Won't be long and it will be here. All right, now I'll give it a couple more minutes of chatting so that everyone who's running late can get here. I have my trusty cup of tea with me. So while we're chatting, I'll talk about the saving revolution. If you haven't already registered, if you've already registered, don't do it again. You don't need to. If you haven't already registered, zip over to our website. The link is in the description box below me, and you can register for the 2023 Saving Revolution. 13th year of the Saving Revolution. I don't think I've ever actually consciously counted up how many years we've been doing this before. And when I realized I was setting it all up for next year, and I realized it was 13 years, that is a lot of money that we have saved, a lot of budgets that have been created and amended. It's a big, long time. Hello, Jane. Hello, Aradia. It is freezing cold here. Mary, did you get hail and sleet yesterday? We had so much hail and sleet yesterday. It was like July again. We didn't actually get that much in July. Looking, and I'm getting reflection of my glasses, which is a bit of a nuisance. Anyway, I'll try and get my head up. Will that help? Okay. All right. Well, it's nearly 5 minutes, so we might get started. Because I really want to get tonight's topic over and done with. Not because I don't want to talk about it, but because it's a very emotional topic, and it actually makes me quite nervous to talk about it on an open forum like YouTube. I have very strong opinions on how to deal with spendaholics, and especially spendaholic spouses or partners. So if I get a tad overbearing, please forgive me. I don't mean to sound like a dictator and tell you what to do. What I hope is I'll give you something to think about, and perhaps the suggestions and steps we talk about will be helpful to you, because this is something that so many of us deal with on a daily basis. Spendaholics, we just, they're just a part of our world. And even the name isn't really adequate for the damage that living with a spendaholic can do, not just to your finances, but to your emotions, to your self-esteem. So if you're in that situation, there is help available to you. Don't be afraid to get it. Don't be afraid to ask for it. Don't be afraid to reach out. Because, in a perfect world, all parties in a relationship would be on the same page when it comes to finances and living the cheapskate's way. But we know that in the real world, that just isn't the case. Have you heard the term sexually transmitted debt? Because that is a real thing. And if you're suffering from it, it can be devastating. You don't know what it is. It's when one person in a relationship becomes responsible for their partner's financial debts. And that usually happens after they've been convinced or misled into taking on debt on behalf of their partner or spouse in their name, or sharing the responsibility for the debt, or perhaps even taking on more risk than they knew about. When the relationship exists, it causes stress and arguments and really bad feelings. And when that spouse or partner bails on the debt or the relationship fails, you are stuck with it on your own. That's sexually transmitted debt. Now, Wayne and I are as different as apples and oranges in so many ways. We really are. But when it comes to money, we're pretty much on the same track these days. It hasn't always been this way, though. We were both used to having our own money and spending it as we saw fit. So when we married and combined our finances, there were a few rocky spots and a couple of challenges that we had to go through, mostly on my part, because Wayne is naturally, I was going to say frugal, but he's actually naturally a skinflint. No bones about it. He's cheapskatier than a cheapskate. Whereas I have always liked to save for what I wanted, but I didn't necessarily mind if I saw a blouse and it was $100 and I wanted it and I had the $100, I would buy it. Whereas these days, if I see the blouse that's $100, I'd look at it and go, $100 for a blouse, and I'd start looking online to see if I could find it cheaper. I'd come home and I'll go through my patterns and the fabric stash and see if I can make it. So I have changed over the years. It wasn't that neither of us had debt when we got married. We were both debt-free with savings when we got married. I owned my car. Wayne was still paying his off. But, so we didn't bring debt into our marriage at all. We just had slightly different ideas of what a budget was. So we talked it out and we decided who was going to be responsible for what. And it's been pretty much smooth sailing ever since. And I will say that, is solely thanks to Wayne being easygoing. He's really easygoing. We both run big spends by the other. And if it's something not quite necessary, we talk about it. And one thing we have developed really well over the years is we always stick to the $100 24-hour rule. The big spends we talk about, and then we research them and we shop around so that we get the best possible quality for the best possible price. And then we save up for what we want. We do both also have our own spending money. It's part of our budget. It is allocated, and we can spend that or not spend that. No questions asked. That is ours to spend. And that's something everyone needs. Everyone needs something that is just theirs. We're pretty blessed in that he's easygoing and I get to run the books because that's what I like to do. I like the numbers. I like working the numbers and seeing the columns and making it all balanced. That's what I like. He's not so interested in that. So it sort of works for us. Now, I know it's not easy when you and your spouse or your partner are on different pages, especially when it comes to finance, because money really is an emotional topic, as you know. And when emotions involve a relationship, well, when those money emotions involve a relationship, they can destroy that relationship and destroy it really quickly. But getting your spendthrift to change their ways isn't easy. They're adults. You can't dictate to them, what they can do and what they can't do. You can try, but they're adults. They're able to make up their own mind and make their own decisions. And often they may not like to take advice from their more financially savvy spouse or partner because they see that, perhaps they're doing better with their money. Whatever it is, their share of the budget is working better than the other share. And perhaps that might make them feel a little inadequate, or it could make them feel self-conscious. It could just make them feel guilty for not being strong enough to stop spending. It's very difficult to make someone change. What you can do is perhaps, come up with some things that might help them see the reality of the situation. So actions speak louder than words, and that may be cliched, but it's true. And what you do and how you handle your finances or your part of the family finances might help him or her see the reality of the situation. You've worked hard at living the cheapskate's way, and so you understand how hard it can be to change the financial habits of a lifetime. I don't think there's many of us that are actually born natural cheapskates, just like there's not many of us that are actually born organised. But you know how good it feels to change those bad habits and start living the way you want to. So you've got debt-free, you've got money in the bank, you are laughing. A dear friend, a very dear friend, once told me when I asked years and years ago, our children were little, I asked how she managed with her spendaholic husband, because he was a spendaholic. Lovely man, lovely man, just was hopeless with money. And she told me that it was simple. She didn't keep more than a day's worth of food in the house, because if there was more than a day's worth of food in the house, he would think there was plenty of food and plenty of money and spend the housekeeping money. And she only kept enough money in their joint account to keep it open. She had her own bank account and all her earnings went into it, and she would pay the bills from that account. She'd move the mortgage and the bill money, once her husband's pay hit their joint account, into her account, so he never had a chance to spend it. She left what they didn't need or what she didn't need in that account, and that's how she coped with it. She agreed. He's not a bad man, and he's not a bad man. He simply sees money and spends it, because he never stops to think about what bills are due, or if there's food in the house, how long is it going to last? He just sees there's money in the bank and thinks it's there to spend. And so this is the way she stays sane and feels secure, because she knows they can pay the bills, they can eat, they can keep the roof over their heads, and she can stay in love with her husband. So sometimes a dose of reality is often all that's needed to get someone's attention. Point it out to them. You might like to meet with a professional, because that can really help to put financial realities into focus. And if you have to prepare for a consult with a financial advisor, that's going to force at least some recognition, some tallying of financial resources. If you can make an appointment for the both of you with a financial advisor, that really helps to put financial realities into perspective. Another thing is, it's really helpful to decide on the goals that you want as a couple for the future, be it retirement or building up education funds for the children, or paying down debt, saving up for a new car, whatever. Having those goals gives you and your spendaholic something to look forward to and something to work towards. And if you can work towards it together, it makes it so much easier, because you're sharing the load. Look, a good financial advisor can give you really realistic tips on how to achieve these goals and how to do it without making anyone feel financially incompetent, because often it's not deliberate. It's just thoughtless behavior that causes the problems. They see money in the bank, so they think they can spend it. Now, how can you stop this STD? Well, first off, any bank accounts in both names need to be on a 2-to-sign basis, so that both of you are aware what the other is doing in that account. Don't have credit cards in both names. Don't give anyone else authority on your credit cards. Actually, if you are using credit cards, stop right now. They just make it so easy to overspend anyway. And for someone who is struggling with financial responsibility, credit cards are just too big a temptation. Cut them in half, cut them in quarters. If you've got a shredder, put them through the shredder, then pay down the balances and cancel them. Cancel the accounts. Now, if your Spendaholic is a secondary holder on any of your credit cards, or you are a secondary account holder on any of theirs, get off. Get them off yours or you off theirs immediately. Because if they spend up big and stop paying, you're responsible for that debt. It's in your name, or you're a secondary account holder, so you are responsible. And watching the balance shrink each month as you pay it off, it's a really good motivator. You could perhaps keep a record of the shrinking debt. Maybe that will keep your spendthrift focused. And don't panic because you don't have credit cards, because there are alternatives. Use debit cards instead. And at least with a debit card, they're only spending money that is there. And once it's gone, they can't keep spending, and they're not running up debt. And, that is not going to be paid off. That's just going to accrue interest. If frivolous, that's hard to say, spending is a problem, then allocate some fun money. And this goes back to what I said a few minutes ago. Allocate some fun money that is just theirs. Have some for them, have some for you. You can spend it however you want. But once it's gone, it's gone. If they want to spend it and blow it all in one widget, then it's gone until next payday. If they want to save it, they've got it. Making it so that, they can't access more is important. because, no one wants to suddenly get the power bill or come home one day and find there's no power because there was no money in the bank to pay the bill. Once your spendaholic is on their mad money, they're going to understand pretty quickly how much, the lunches out and the widgets and whatever can make that money disappear. It can't hurt for you to model the behaviour that you would like to see emulated. Lead by example. Lead by example. Continue to demonstrate thoughtful spending. Show them that you think about what you spend before you spend it. Even the groceries, show them that you go through, you make your pantry inventory, your meal plan, your shopping list, you look at the specials, then you shop. Show them that you do have to put some thought into it. Even you have to put some thought into it. You might suggest eating at home sometimes to save some extra cash if they like eating out, for instance. Little things like that. Or instead of eating coffee. And don't forget the value of an honest heart-to-heart conversation. Try to get at the root of the spending behaviours and then work together to find a solution. Because this urge to spend is being caused by something. And spending and budgeting are family issues. And as a family, you need to work on them together. So sit down together every week and go over the budget. It doesn't have to take long and it doesn't have to be complicated. Just make sure that everything is clearly outlined. All your income is listed, all your outgoings are listed. Having it written down in black and white with the totals there for you and your spendthrift to see can sometimes be enough to just give them a big shock and get them to change their habits. Just remember, habits are tricky things. It takes time to develop a habit, and so it takes time to change that habit too. But they can be changed. You just have to work at it. And that means work on everyone's part, yours and your spendthrifts, and a lot of patience and understanding from you. You need to be honest and you need to keep talking about your budget, your expenses, your savings, your goals. And that's talking, not nagging or whining or arguing, just talking, having the conversation. Keep that conversation going. It may be that, in the end, one partner controls the money, like in our house. And that doesn't mean the other has no access to it or no say in how it's spent, but rather that one person is responsible for paying the bills, moving to savings accounts and so on. Now, if you choose to go this route, it takes a lot of trust. And it is not a means of control, and it is not to be used as a means of control. If money ever becomes a means of control, it's time to seek professional help and time to make some really hard decisions. Now, I've personally worked with 2 couples where money was used to control the relationship. In one, which was quite a few years ago, actually before Cheapskates started, the wife was handed a set amount of money every Monday, and she had to account for every cent spent with receipts on a Sunday night and hand back the change if there was money left over. She had no access to any bank accounts, and she had no money of her own, not even $5 a week mad money to pay for a cup of coffee and a cream cake. That is a controlling relationship. And that marriage did eventually break down over money. Now, in the other relationship, both were working, and so they split everything 50-50, and that's fine. That worked for them. They were happy until they started their family and she stopped working. Because then he took over paying the bills and supporting the family, but he never stopped reminding her that the food she ate or the petrol in her car or the swimming lessons for their children were only there because he paid for them. He used it as a means of controlling his wife. And sadly, that marriage ended too once the youngest child started school and she went back to work. Now, she's now happily remarried to a very nice man, and she's used to splitting things 50-50, and so that's what they do, but they also don't control. It's no great drama. If she wants something, they talk about it, and if it's feasible, they get it. If he wants something, they talk about it, and if it's feasible, doable, it's in the budget, they can do it. They do it. He doesn't use money to control him, and she doesn't use money. He doesn't use money to control her, and she doesn't use the money to control him. Both those marriages were quite toxic, looking back. And while the people in them are nice people, they just weren't right for each other, and their attitudes to money were very, very different. And in both cases, borderline abusive. So when you're working out how to cope with the overspending and your spendaholic, be mindful and respectful of your spouse or your partner, because they're an adult. They're not a child, so don't treat them like a child. They have the ability to think for themselves. They know what's right and what's wrong. Now, I know it's not easy and it can be stressful in the beginning, but how much more stressful is it to live 24/7 with the fear of having no money and even more debt hanging over you? If you can find the triggers to their overspending, then you can find ways to cancel them. And there will be times when you feel like you are the only one worried about finances and the only one working on getting out of debt, or making sure the mortgage is paid and there's money to buy food for the children. And there will be times when you not only feel it, but it's true. If you want to keep the relationship, you need to find workarounds. So, like my friend, perhaps you need to separate your money and restrict access to household money, so you have peace of mind and the financial security of knowing that the bills are going to be paid, the mortgage will be paid on time, and you'll have money to buy food and pay the school fees and get new shoes for the children, or whatever it is that you need. Only you can decide how you handle the problem of a spendaholic spouse or partner. But as I mentioned before, there are options available to you. So you don't need to stay in a toxic or abusive situation, and you don't need to live in fear of running out of money either. The conversation isn't easy to have. It can be quite intimidating, especially if you are not normally the assertive member of the relationship, but you need to do it just for your own peace of mind, let alone your financial security. So I forgot to say, guys, that if you had any questions, put them in all capitals. Let me see. Oops, got lots of comments going on here. So let me slide up and see. what was I going to say? Oh, one of the women has just become a grandmother for the first time, and she's absolutely ecstatic. And she was ecstatic because she was actually able to buy the pram for her grandbaby, and she didn't have to worry about where she was going to get the money from. Now, in their situation, they both earn really good money. It's just that he's just not good with it. And he doesn't, I was going to say, it's not that he doesn't want to try. He just is a tad thoughtless when it comes to finances. All right. Savings Revolution emails will start on the 1st of January. This year's 2022s go out on a Saturday. 2023s will start on Sunday, the 1st of January. So there's no 2023 emails going out yet because it doesn't start till 2023. Merry Christmas, Ken. Barb's almost ready for Christmas. Good. Good. Yes, debt from parent to child and vice versa. Both our boys live at home. Now, they're adults. Seriously, they're adults. They live their own life, but they live here. They're both saving for specific things, and that's fine. And it actually sort of works in our favour because then when we go away for weeks on end, we've got someone in the house to look after it. So we don't actually mind that. But we do not, we've never lent any of our children money. Not that they've asked. And we've never had to go, well, apart from Hannah's mortgage, none of them have ever borrowed money. They've always saved up for what they want. I don't know how I would handle going guarantor for a child who then bailed on the loan and left me to pay for it. I would be really ticked off. Really ticked off. It's a really, when you're going to do that, if you are going to go guarantor for a child or you're a child and going guarantor for your parent, you need to be really sure that the loan can be repaid without your input. And you need to be really have that trust that that will happen. Now, there will always be occasions when for some reason something will happen and it won't be possible. That's different to someone just bailing on their debt. Sorry, I'm just reading this comment here. Universities started teaching emotional finance as a subject because our feelings do impact our choices, and marketing is interested in why. Marketing created it. They don't need to be interested in why. They created it. They create the want. I see it. I see it. I want it. I'm going to have it. That marketing has created the sense of entitlement that so many people have. I see it. I want it. I deserve it. I deserve it for whatever reason, because the ad on TV tells me I deserve it. No, jolly marketing. Behavioral finance, it's almost the same thing. Jane, our son can't get over how much money he's saving at a party company. She earns a huge amount, lives with mother, is always running out. He pays extra child support. There will always be people who just, I see it, I want it, I deserve it, not my problem how I'm going to pay for it. Someone else, I can run to mummy, or I can cry poor at, a charity. Or there will always be those people who just flat out refuse to take responsibility for their behavior. Unfortunately, there's not much we can do other than give them a flick. And that might sound harsh, but I told you I'm a bit blunt when it comes to this. Barb's put herself on a spending freeze in December. Whoa! And as I said, Beverly, it didn't work for either of the women that they both put in good efforts, and one of the husbands did too, but he just was not prepared to change at all. Was not prepared to change at all. And so he also held over her head that he was the head of the house and his word was law. So there was no discussion about anything in that relationship. I'm glad you got out, Beverly. A friend of my mum's, when her husband died, she didn't even know which bank they banked, where his bank accounts were. She didn't have a bank account in her name. She didn't even have a license because she wasn't allowed to drive. She had no money. He would give her cash every week to do the shopping. Now, he didn't care what she did with it. He'd just give her the housekeeping, which was to buy the groceries or whatever was needed for the children. And when he passed away suddenly, she did not even know which bank they banked at, where his pay went. She didn't know. She had nothing, no control over anything. That is an awful, awful place to be. I'm not here to tell anyone what to do. I couldn't live like that. I couldn't live like that. Especially if I had children, I couldn't live like that. It is abuse. It's controlling and it is abusive. And yeah, if someone said it's a form of domestic violence, yes, it is. If you find yourself in that situation, please do something about it. Please do something about it. You don't need to end the relationship, but you do need help. You do need help for your own sanity, if nothing else. Okay, now, sorry, I'm trying to read. Thank you, Barb. Don't forget to like the video. I don't know if this video needs to be liked because it's a really, this has been playing on my mind for about 4 months. And just some things happened over the weekend that I decided it was time to do something about it. So here it is, because none of us are perfect. None of us are perfect. None of us are perfect budgeters, savers, spenders, whatever. None of us are perfect. And we all do things in different ways. We all live different lifestyles. We live all over, not just Australia, but the world. We all have different incomes, different debt responsibilities. So what works for me may not work for you. What works for you may not work for someone else, but they could take bits from what I have and bits from what you have, put together, and it will work. So none of us are perfect. We all are at risk of this in some way. We just need to be really aware of it And perhaps if money is a bone of contention in your relationship, you might need to take a step back for a day or so, have a think about why. What is it about money that causes the arguments, causes the upsets, causes the distress and the anxiety and the fear? And then see how it can be fixed. What are you doing in Ireland, Roz? Oh, how lovely. Is it cold? Is it freezing? Because let me tell you, it's cold and freezing here in Melbourne. Oh my goodness. Well, there we go. Ireland. Okay. I've done the last month or two, done all of my Christmas prep shopping, paid off debt, made a Christmas hamper and prepared for the festive. And she'll buy clothes because she needs them. We all need clothes. We all need clothes. It is very important to discuss it. It's one of those almost taboo subjects. I have a couple of them that have been weighing on my mind. This is one of them, and some things that happened over the weekend brought this, and I thought, it's time to do this video and get it out there that if you are living with a spendaholic spouse, you need to do something about it. You need to pull up your big girl pants or your big boy pants and take responsibility for yourself and your actions, your behavior, and do something about it. And it's not easy. I know it's not easy. I understand how hard it can be, and I understand how fearful it can be. Have a think about it, just have a think about it. And even if you can't talk about it right now, because this is a really bad time of the year to be talking about this sort of thing. With Christmas, guys, Christmas is the biggest spending spree of the year for just about all of us. At least start thinking about it and start putting some plans into place so that in the new year you can tackle the problem. Because I see 2023 as going to be, I think, probably one of the toughest years I've ever lived. I'm looking ahead at different things that are happening, different things that are being said, different things our state and federal governments are doing. And I think this is going to be harder. I think 2023 is going to be harder than the 1990s. And they were tough. They were tough years. And I say that because while our interest rates are at the moment lower, the amount of debt everyone is carrying is about 4.5 times as much. So it is going to be really, really hard. I already was talking to a friend, and her son and daughter-in-law have put their house on the market. And they've had 2 contracts signed, and both have fallen through simply because when the people with pre-approved finance have gone back to the bank with the contracts, the bank has gone, yes, sorry, interest rates have gone up, you no longer qualify to borrow that much money. So it's going to be really tough. It's going to be a really hard year. And then we've got lots of people with the fixed interest rates that are going to end next year, and they're going to have that huge jump. It's going to be really, really tough. So well, frugal is as frugal does, Jane. I guess it's also frugal can be a a rather flexible thing, because what's frugal to me may not be frugal to someone else. And, you know, we could have a multimillionaire saying, oh, I, you know, saved 50 cents on my dishwashing liquid. I'm such a frugalista, because their level of frugality is a bit different, or their perception of frugality is a bit different. It's all relative, and it's very hard when you are truly frugal to deal with people like that and deal with them kindly and with charity. Very, very hard. All right, now, okay. Well, guys, let me just, I want to run by, gift vouchers are available, gift memberships are available until next Wednesday on our website. They've been going really, really well. It's going to be a lot of new cheapskaters next year. Yes, let's get out there and spread that message. And saving revolution. Really, join the saving revolution. I've switched it up for 2023. So if you've done it before and think you don't need to do it again, you may not need to do it again, but you might want to. It's entirely up to you, of course. Those two things are the things that I'm currently have going for cheapskates. And I'm working like crazy to get everything done for the end of the year. Today I spent working on the meal plans for next year. The meal plan itself is done. It was getting, you know, the blanks and sorting them out. That takes time. So I've been working on that all day. I had Lacey Dog keeping me company, literally keeping me company. Her head was between my stomach and the keyboard of the laptop as I was working. She was just resting on with her head on my knee, on my lap. So I think tomorrow to catch up and get everything done properly. All right, now, frugalista, not my original word. I'm not sure who first spoke it, but it's not my original word. But it is, you know, we are what we are. All right, well, I will let you go. I'll have another early night. I will let you go. But before I go, I want to say thank you so much for watching all the way through and for staying with me while we dealt with this rather tricky subject. If you have any questions, put them in the comments below. And I'd love to know if you've had to deal with a spendaholic and how you managed. If you have any tips, any strategies, that would be really good. And I read every comment. I do my best to answer all your questions. So don't be afraid to leave them in the discussion box below. If you know someone who might like this video or who might benefit from the Cheapskates Club or this video in particular, just click that share button to send them the link. And then there's 3 simple things that you can do, which is like, hit the thumbs up, subscribe and share, and they help our channel grow and be recognized more easily. And of course, the easier it is to find us, the easier it is to spread the message that it is not only okay to live life debt-free, cashed up and laughing, but it can still be done, even in today's crazy, mixed up, stupid world. Now, I'll be back next week, which is the Tuesday before Christmas, same time, 7:30 p.m. But until then, happy cheapskating, everyone. Have a great week and Merry Christmas.